Hello everyone, welcome back to Beyond the Veil Live. I have a lot to share with you guys today, hoping that it will truly wake you up, hoping that it will help you better prepare for what's coming. For those that are trying to be, jerks about it and say, how can you prepare for something like this? Well, you can prepare, number one, by repenting. Number two, you can prepare by warning others. And number three, you can prepare by doing what the word says, okay? You know, the word that's proven to be true time and time and time and time and time again, okay? It's only one, all right? Well, I bring that up because of this. The things I'm going to be presenting today are pretty alarming, not just for you, but they were pretty alarming for me as well. And you can just add this to the big stockpile of thousands of other things that I've presented as well to prove a lot of this stuff to be 1000% true. Okay. With that being said, there's a lot of you guys that are new. We have had altogether, it was like between 5,600 people that have joined the page in just the last week and a half, which has been absolutely phenomenal. But at the same time, it's brought in a bunch of trolls. All right. Now this video here, the ones that are watching it, I'm going to encourage you guys, if you're new, please don't get distracted. There's going to be people down here in the comments that are going to be saying a whole lot of things of he said, she said, they said, my pastor said, my scientist teacher said, NASA said, etc., etc. I'm going to encourage you, since you're over here on my page, all right, to just hang tight and listen to what I have to present, and then you can see if you have questions or he said, she said to add after I'm done, all right? And for those that have been following along, I'm going to ask you, don't be distracting other people in the comments. Instead, listen and be respectful. As I've been telling people lately, okay, if you're chewing on food, all right, like food, we're told to be giving bread out. Bread being the word of God, and also, you know, a way of learning and growing and developing and things like that. If you're trying to learn something and process something and hear something and read something, okay, you can't be sitting there talking and chitter-chatting and things like that. And it really goes to show how many of you guys are really horrible in school with talking during class, and it shows why you didn't learn anything, okay? I want you guys to listen, because this stuff is important. It can really affect your families, it can affect your relationships, it can affect also your faith if you're not careful, all right? It says the love of most will grow cold in these days, is what it says. Don't let that be you. When you grow cold, you grow stiff, you grow hard, you grow stiff-necked, and you ain't gonna be able to digest anything. So as you're chewing on this food and thinking about it and testing it and searching out and lining it up with the word of God, don't talk with your mouth full. Listen, okay? I see we have a whole lot of people up here already, and that's wonderful, all right? As you're coming in, if you would like to, go on and hit one of the buttons down below just to get a little jump in the algorithm. And if you won't, you ain't even got to leave out of here. Just hit the share button, share it over to your page so they can get in here live before it gets deleted, as Facebook have done with 3 of my posts this week. Okay, go on and share it, get it out there and listen. I've also made it where you can rewind this video. Okay, so meaning if I say something and you didn't quite click, all you got to do is rewind it a little bit, hear it again. And you're like, okay, I get it now, and then continue forward. It's a big deal that I allowed that to happen as well. So just do it. All right. I promise you, you're going to want to make time to hear this. Okay. That's all I'm going to say about that. All right. First thing I want to do right now is show you some stuff that's going on right now. Okay. I'm going to show you some pictures of some stuff that was documented today happening. And I'm going to explain those pictures to you. And I'm going to show you the utter chaos that is happening right now all around us. I think the best and first one I can show is this one here. Let me see if I can get it pulled up on my computer screen. I don't know if that's going to even work. Let's see here. Oh man. Well, I'll have to do it a different way. No way. 1 second, guys. I already have the internet fighting my blame computer over here. Come on. I'm hoping that it's still working on my phone good too. Hoping you guys can hear me and or see me all right. I don't know why in the world my computer just locked me out, but I'm trying to get back in. Come on, please, hurry up. Connected to Barlink. Okay. Okay, yeah, we're getting back in now. Sweet. I don't know what in the world just happened. And be patient, okay? There's a lot of people that don't have patience on this page. Matter of fact, I think nothing gets to me anymore than the people that come up here randomly and they expect to be spoon-fed in like a couple of seconds and expect to know anything. Or they're like, oh, hurry up and get to the point. And then they don't even stick around to hear the point. If you want the point, don't worry, you're gonna have about an hour and a half worth of points to be proven and disqualified or whatever you wanna call them. All right, okay, it's back up now. I can't get this picture to load, so you're just gonna have to go back to my page and look at it if you want to. Okay, recently, the last thing I think I posted on the page before this live stream was pictures of flights that have been taking place right now in just the last, not just 24 hours, but 24 to 48 hours happening all over the blame place, all right? Now, these flights are not normal flights, all right? What this does is you got to understand, whether you believe in space, whether you believe NASA, whether you believe the Bible, whether you believe in a firmament, whether you believe in NASA's beguiling and deceiving, okay? Whether you want to admit it or not, NASA is the number one harbinger of helium in the whole entire world. If you don't believe that fact, look it up. There is not a single organization in the world that owns more helium than NASA. I hope that you can put together what that means, all right? And also the satelloons that came crashing down to the earth over the past couple of years. Okay? It's a known thing. Look into it. Also, do you know who owns the biggest underground pool facility in the world for training astronauts? NASA, for a very specific reason, all right? Both those things are things I encourage you to look into, okay? So, however you want to come to your conclusion and understanding, there are things above us that allow them to track things, to take pictures of things, and to document things that are going on the face of the earth, okay? It is what it is. That's a known thing. All right. With that being said, if anything passes underneath these radars, okay, there is a disclosure thing that's taking place where things have to be presented to the public in some way, shape, or form due to disclosure. Okay. Due to disclosure. Okay. Now, what I'm saying by that is this: those things up there, okay, when they pick up readings of stuff, just like Facebook and all media, okay, elites can have their hands in there and adjust things and change things and manipulate things and cover up things however they want to and however they please. All right? Well, right now, over the last 48 hours, see, there are people that get up there and they stay because they notice fishy things going on. They'll see things happen and then see them get them scrubbed. Or they'll see something happen and they'll see it get wiped off the map. They'll see something happen, they'll screen record it, they'll screen capture it, and then it's gone. For example, like you remember, I'm not even going to say his name in this video because he'll get me flagged. The guy that just got killed, okay? All right, well, there was books that were written 2 days in advance that people screenshot and took pictures of, and the next thing you know, they're completely deleted off the internet. There was all kinds of things that happened before that were scrubbed off the internet, but people caught before it happened. Things like that, for example, okay? Just is what it is. That's how they work. That's how they do. Well, this was one of those things, okay? Over the past 48 hours, we have had was considered on this thing a ghost flight, by the way, meaning it's something that's not documented, all right? Now, here's this. What they did is they put a number on it. They have to, for tracking purposes. Remember, the beast, the number 8 is very important. 88, Donald John Trump is 88. The name Yahusha in Greek, which turns out Jesus, which we talked about last night, is Esau, which is very important, is 888. And that matters. You know why? Because it says the beast that comes back out of the abyss after the 1,000-year reign, okay, that recovered from his headwind and came back out of the abyss, it says he's of the 7, but is the 8th, okay? So you're seeing 8 all over the place right now. And also 8 is when the Ouroboros, the Aurora Borealis, okay, and Leviathan, the snake eating its tail, brings wrath and judgment, eternal judgment to the world as well. Okay, which is taking place all around you. Well, fun fact, they numbered this unidentified thing flying around in the skies, which is, we wait till I present this stuff, with 8 zeros, not 9, not 7, not 6, but 8 zeros. 0, 0, 0, 0, 0, 0, 0, 0, 0. 8 of them is how they have this as a placeholder, is what it's called, a placeholder reg, meaning like it's regulated, documented, tracked as the number zeros spread out in 8s. Okay? Now, why does that matter? Well, if you know anything about flight patterns, which, by the way, for people that don't know, I served in the military, okay, for 3.5, technically almost right at 4 years. While I was in the military, I was a 15 Foxtrot, as in an aircraft electrician specialist. I worked on Blackhawks and Chinooks, and occasionally I worked on Apaches, which is where I get a lot of my nerdiness from. I love that tech stuff, all right? Meaning I know everything about the barometers, the altimeters, all of that crazy mess that a lot of people want to deny. Well, I was in there working on it, all right? Fun fact, did you know the Chinook has over 2.5 miles of wiring cables? I think it's over 120 some different cannon plugs. Each cannon plug having A through Z 2 different times. Do that for numbers all around. And I had to track and trace every one of those with multimeters and schematics. Does anybody even know what that means? Well, you can look into those things. If anybody wanted to just like, oh, this dude's full of baloney, learn it, okay? And I'm telling you this, when you get into that stuff, you fall in love with like planes and space crafts in general, okay? I love that type of stuff. Well, also you're able to document like how these things travel, how these things move, and where these things go all the time. You can see it. Well, this, I'm gonna call it 8, okay? This number 8 that's been tracked all over the place in the last 48 hours is making movements that are unheard of, okay? It's not that they're flying at extreme speeds that matter. You need to know most of the time with those speeds is the way it has to get from one place to another as far as altitude, cutting through turbulence, and stuff like that, okay? This, you guys ever seen the Never-Ending Story? Did you ever see how the dragon dog with the face like a lion? Did you ever see how that dragon dog flies? Well, he don't start off slow. He takes off and he goes, just like Aang, okay, off of the Airbender. It takes off in one speed and just goes and stays at that same speed for that altitude, however it is. Dragons, same thing. That thrust will get it up to that speed and it stays at that speed. And it's not going at like crazy speeds. There are jets that can go 600 and some miles per hour plus, okay? Keep all that in mind, okay? Because this thing, it tracked all of a sudden. Now you need to know, like airline flights, like as far as like when I went to India, okay, I had to take a flight from Washington, D.C. to Frankfurt, Germany, which took 9 freaking hours. And then from Frankfurt, Germany to Bengaluru was 9 flipping hours. And then Bengaluru to Hyderabad was 3.5 hours, okay? Think about those numbers and times, okay? This wasn't like one of those types of flights. What this did, it went from Europe to Asia, to Taiwan Strait, to the Atlantic, to Brazil, randomly dives down into the ocean in the middle of Brazil, comes back out of the ocean in the middle of Brazil, all traveling at the exact same consistent speed of 260 miles an hour, which is physically impossible for the climbing, the dropping, the moving, not to mention, what in the world plane dives into the ocean, stays down there for, it looked like at least, I mean, you can measure the miles and stuff on this thing. It traveled underwater for like a couple of 100 miles and then came back up out of the water. Okay, is how this thing was tracked with a consistent movement speed. Okay, you guys seen the new How You Can Train Your Dragon? Hey, did you not pay attention to those dragons that would come out of the sea, fly in the air, and then dive back in the sea, keep their same rotation and speed, everything in the sea, come back out of the sea? Things like that? You ever paid attention to that stuff? I hope so. Okay? Because this thing kept a consistent 260 mile per hour speed, no matter what altitude, no matter what drop, and even in the bottom of the ocean and back up. Fun fact, where it dove in the ocean, okay, is exactly where those anomalies were that were released after the April 8th eclipse. Fun fact. You remember when they came out, went up, and then they disappeared right off? Well, where they disappeared right off is exactly where this thing went down and came back up. Why does that matter? Why does the Taiwan Strait matter for those that have been following along? Well, the Taiwan Strait's one of the most active places. Don't you remember what happened in Pearl Harbor, Hiroshima, Nagasaki? Godzilla -1? You do? I hope so. Okay, why does this stuff matter? Well, don't you know what else is happening off the coastline of Brazil and Venezuela? Well, we have a whole fleet of military warships out there right now. Not just ours. Chile, Argentina, Russia, Japan, Brazilian, Venezuelan. Not to mention, what's today? 2 days from now, the biggest naval exercise in recorded history, and I say that in quotations, is taking place in our Atlantic Ocean, where over 26 nations in the world are coming together for Project Unite Us. Unite Us. Okay? They're coming together for that in the middle of the Atlantic Ocean. It's going to be going on from the 15th all the way to October 6th, where they're doing amphibious warship training, anti-submarine training, mine-dropping trainings, and they're going to have all these different warships from 26 nations gathered in the Atlantic Ocean for some reason. Well, fun fact, in the movie Pacific Rim, okay, that's exactly how the movie starts. All the nations come together with one common enemy, and they all start meeting in the oceans, where they start making kaiju fighters and anti-submarine fighters to fight titans that are in the oceans and contain them as long as they can in the oceans and tell people that it's storms and hurricanes and all these other things until it gets out of hand and it comes up in the baseline of Florida and it comes up in the in New York City's coastline, and then it comes up on the California coastline, and the next thing you know, it's in Australia, okay, in Sydney, coming up there as well. When it gets out of their control, gets out of their hands. All right. We also, at the beginning of last month, we had the icebreaker missions taking place in Drake Passage. And that went on for the whole month up until the day before the 8.0 and 7.5 earthquake that took place in Drake Dragon's Passage. Fun fact, the word Drake not only means dragon, like everybody talks about, it means a wingless dragon, serpent. Look it up. I presented that fact on my page as well. All right. Miss Jamie, you might want to call your nephew. AWOL's a thing. I'd consider it right now. Okay, there's absolutely nothing to be done. It says that Leviathan was created to make play with the ships at sea right now. Okay? And I don't mean that to scare you. I mean, you guys need to wake up while they're gathering the armies and nations of the world, stirring up for the great and final battle. Okay? All this mess is happening right now. Right now. Okay? It's happening. Now, for those that don't know, all right, I'm going to be presenting so much scripture and texts and things in this video that you will have a hard time denying. Okay? First and foremost, I need to bring up the big elephant in the room. Everybody keeps saying, oh, it's Leviathan. Oh, it's Leviathan. Oh, it's Leviathan. It's Leviathan. It's Leviathan. Leviathan's not moved yet as far as rising up yet. Okay? Leviathan has not risen yet. Leviathan will not rise until the final. Okay? Leviathan is the last thing. Okay? Last thing that rises up. Period. Okay? Behemoth and Leviathan rise last. What is happening in our oceans right now is there were 4 titans that were bound. 4 of them. Specifically, I'm going to be presenting 7 different texts that will prove that to you today. There were 4 titans that were released in the April 8th sacrificial eclipse that took place, over a year ago. Okay? And they were all documented on Ventusky. And I was warning people for 8 months before that eclipse even happened. I said there are going to be 4 titans that are going to be released after this eclipse. Literally, the day after the eclipse, you have the first ever anomaly the size of Texas released in the southern Atlantic Ocean, right there by Drake's Head. All right, and then another 2 weeks later, then another a week later, then another a week after that, and then the app shut down. All of them the size of Texas. Huge. Okay, that all happened exactly as I said it was going to happen 8 months prior to. All right, that happened. They are the ones wreaking havoc in the oceans right now. They are the ones that caused that big old radiation spike of 14,500 plus CPMs at the beginning of August this year, when all of a sudden, that very moment, the United States military, that same exact moment, sent over 4,000 troops, 3 different submarine nuclear anti-submarine warships out there. Also, they sent out all these other unmanned drones and unmanned subs out there to Venezuela's coastline immediately, and then started saying it's because they're at war with Venezuela. And all of a sudden, at the same time, you have all that stuff happening at Drake's Passage with the warships there, which I've already pointed out, 2,000 plus soldiers, the Icebreaker warship. And if you don't know, in Godzilla King of Monsters, that's how the movie starts, is the United Nations goes to Drake Passage at the Antarctica ice wall, and they go and they break open the ice, and they find the 3-headed Ghidorah, the queen of monsters, and they start breaking open and thawing out the ice. Next thing you know, they break her loose, who flashes lightning from her mouth, and she makes out a squeal and wakes up all the other titans all over the whole earth that start bursting out of volcanoes, start bursting out of the ocean, and start bursting out of like things like the Hoover Dam. Okay? Happen. Boom. It is what it is. Okay, now, because of that, which is happening, everybody's like, are they trying to stop it? No, they're trying to cause it. Don't you know Apollo causes these things? He's given the key to open these things and to do these things. All right? We're not going to make it to 2030. You have a time, and half a time. You have 3.5 years from the time of the Great Eagle, which Donald John Trump and James Donald Vance are the 2 right-aiming thunderbolts, okay? They are those wings of perdition. And a time, and half a time proclaiming peace, 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 follows sudden destruction, perdition being cut short is only 3.5 years. You're not going to make it to 2030. It had to be cut short, according to the Word of God. Just had to say that. All right? So let's keep on going here. No distractions. That's why you need to listen. Absolutely, Tracy. But y'all listen. That's all I want you to do. Okay? If you want to teach other things, go teach it on your page and on your channel. This is Beyond the Veil. I created it myself. I made these things myself. If you want to listen to what I'm presenting, present them. And if you want to go teach your own things, go teach those things somewhere. All right? I'm not saying it to be rude, but I've put a lot of work into this stuff. So let's keep on going here. All right? Here's what's happened on top of this. Okay, so like I said, you got this crazy thing that's flying at a consistent 260 mile per hour. Guess what height? Do you want to know? I jumped out of a plane at 18,000 feet. I was told it was going to be 13,500 feet. And it was 18,000 feet that I jumped out of a plane with a parachute on my back with someone. Okay? Scary. Free fell for over 60 some seconds, which is over a minute. I fell from the sky. All right? And that was high. It looked like I was 2 times the height of a cloud. Like I looked down and there was nothing but clouds beneath me. And I had to fall through those clouds. All right? Well, here we go. These things, this thing that's going all over the place right now and diving down to certain points of the ocean, okay, is flying between 26,000 and 29,000 feet in the air. Do you know how high that is? Very high. Very high. Okay? Now, why does that matter? Like I said, the speed in which it travels. 260 miles per hour to be dropping and rising in those altitudes with a number that's not even a registered number. That's a 8 zeros. Okay? Now, you need to remember, okay? Those 4 Titans, they could fly. I'm going to prove it to you in a lot of texts. Just like in Godzilla, just like in Power Rangers, you know, you have the locust bug creatures coming out of the ocean. Some could fly, some could not. Pacific Rim, they look like big old bugs, big old creatures coming out of the oceans, the abyss. Some could fly, some could not. Now, here's something you need to consider that's happened also this week, where everybody's distracted by the Charlie mess. This week, Taiwan Strait has the USS Higgins and the HMS Richmond transited, okay, which is this big old ghost sub that I talked about the other day that came all the way from Australia with Canada to go over there to Taiwan. And it's one of those unmanned submarines. It's one of those unmanned submarines that is allowed to go into crushing depths with nuclear warheads. And by the way, fun fact, this is exactly where we're having these huge earthquakes and things like that as well, off the coast of Taiwan and off the coast of Russia. Earthquakes. Okay, now on top of that, we have the Arctic Barents, which is the Zapad 2025 drills. This is so important. Do you know who's doing this? Russia. Russia. Okay, Russia started their Zapad 2025 drills now, which is a Russian MiG 31K with a Kinzhal amphibious landing warship cruisers, and it's a lot of them all combined. Matter of fact, it's so big, in fact, that they closed off a whole section for this very drill, keeping all civilians far away from this place. Okay, that's happening right now, and it's going to be going on for a while. And that's in Franz Josef Land, by the way. On top of that, we have the Atlantic Red Sea, where all of a sudden, okay, at the mouth of the Red Sea that goes out into the ocean, we have all these undersea cables getting snapped. And they're not from ships, and they're not, as they're telling you, somebody going down there and cutting those big old underwater sea cables. These are creatures at the bottom of the ocean right now doing these things themselves. That's all. This is just this week's stuff. Just wait. We also have the Pacific M7 Kamchatka quake that just took place yesterday. But did you notice something funny about it that's happened several times over this last year? How do you cancel a tsunami? Do you know how many times that's happened? They're like, oh, something big's happening out there, so they give you a tsunami warning in case something happens, and then they cancel it and just erase it. We had an 8.8 cause a tsunami going the whole way across the ocean. Truth seeker, you're gonna have to catch up in the video. You jumped in kind of late. Sorry. You have all this stuff happen up, and I've allowed it so you can rewind. So just rewind to the beginning. You have all this as well. Yes, and I've done a whole video on the NESARA and the JASARA happening as well. All right, so let's keep on going here. Like I said, you guys don't get distracted in comments, and don't distract me with comments because I have a lot to present. And I'm not being ugly. I've had a very, very busy afternoon putting this together for you today. Okay, trying to feed you bread. Now let's go. Let's keep going. How about this? Do you know what else happened this week in the last 3 days? Do you know? I know. I've been presenting it to you guys, and people ignore it. They're like, well, it's just a coincidence. Well, I presented it today for you twice, just for it to get through some of your heads. Okay? As of this week, 4 days ago, all right, this is what happened. The NEP 25A happened. Do you know what that is? It's a heat anomaly that stretched millions of kilometers across the Pacific Ocean and caused the biggest heat wave recorded in history in the Pacific Ocean. Do you know what's weird about that? At the same time, you have the same thing happen in the Gulf of America. And I actually told you guys this was going to happen too, right when it freaking happens. I told you months ago that the seas were going to boil right now, and they are. Exactly as I said. Gulf of America had their record-breaking heat wave anomaly take place, but these aren't surface level heat anomalies. These heat anomalies are at the bottom of the oceans. I've proved all this to you. But then on top of this, you have the heat blob off of the coast of New York City that's heading toward New York. The anomaly, the heat blob anomaly, that's 250 miles wide. That's moving toward New York, as they say. That is underneath the water heat blob anomaly, like something's bulging up underneath the ocean, and they can't. They say it's a hot lava monster. They call it the hot blob anomaly. That's taking place. While we have also the seamount taking place on the Pacific side of Babylon the Great, which is given over to dragons, by the way. All of this surrounds the United States. It's not surrounding other places. This is surrounding the United States. Gulf of Mexico, check. Atlantic Ocean, check. Pacific Ocean, seamount, check, check, check. Sea to shining sea, all the many waters are boiling around Mystery Babylon the Great's melting pot. That's up in smoke and ash within only an hour. Well, that's happening. And an impending volcano happening anytime this year, they're saying it. Underwater. At the same time, you have not just that, but they're freaking out about the San Andreas fault line more now than ever, thinking that California is going to break right off into the ocean for some unknown reason. Unknown reason. Well, let's keep going because I got a whole lot of stuff more to present. Okay? Central America gets completely drowned. Have you not seen the naval flood maps? And by the way, there's nowhere safe in the United States. Mystery Babylon the Great specifically is left completely desolate, without life, without a single voice of a bridegroom, without a single light in the land. Everyone perishes and gets killed in Mystery Babylon the Great's destruction, from sea to shining sea. The only thing that escapes are those that heeded the call to flee Babylon before its destruction, so you do not take part in her sins and you do not take part in her plagues. And it tells you to go and scatter amongst the nation and to minister to all the other nations of the world, because Mystery Babylon the Great is set for perdition when he remembers her and turns back. There is nowhere safe in the United States. Mystery Babylon the Great is left completely desolate, without life, and given over to dragons, period. It's a word-for-word thing. That's why I've been telling you guys, do not wait till winter. Don't wait till a Sabbath winter, okay? Fall is deadline, meaning the end of November max. If you're not out of here by the end of November, you're going to be in for some crap. That's why it says, pray that your flight not be on the Sabbath, nor that your flight be in the winter. And winter lasts from December 23rd to April 1st. April 1st is the new year. Meaning, I'm telling you guys, between now and April 1st of next year, it's going to be chaos. Don't wait. You have time right now to get your mess together. Planning, figuring things out. And you don't leave Babylon the Great to go save your life, word for word. If you leave Babylon the Great to save your life, you're going to lose it. But if you leave Babylon the Great to lay down your life for someone else, you'll find it. What does that mean? You want to be a worker during the harvest? It means you want to be one of those that leave Babylon the Great and go with a testimony to the other nations, telling them what happened and going through things with them. Because once Noahide kicks off here and destruction happens here, then it happens to the rest of the world after. The difference is people are sent out with a testimony to those people, so they die and they don't even fear losing their life in those moments. I don't fear losing my life, but I want to go to the places that are untouchable and unreachable. And that's what I'm going to do. I'm prepared. I'm ready. I hope you are as well. If you're not, you got a whole lot of videos to catch up on. Okay, because now I want to get to all the scriptures to back up things I say, because I never present anything without just as much text and scriptures to go along with it for the naysayers. Okay? All right. And I want to say right now, I have more people on this live stream than I've ever had on a Facebook Live in my life. So, hello everyone, welcome to Beyond the Veil. Hope you're enjoying this. It's always chaos. Let me tell you guys. First, we're going to start with this. This is fascinating. Revelation 20. Okay? First, let me point out some things that people misteach. I have a lot of people teaching the short season, but they don't even know short season events. They're like, oh, all the bad stuff's already happened. That's impossible, and that's not what the word says. The 1,000-year reign was a new age that comes to an end and is handed back power to the dragon, to the 10 kings of old, for an hour, for a space, for a short season, a short horn, a mystery scroll, a mystery short book, a mystery space where mystery horn Babylon the Great comes back out of the abyss with its mystery season of its mystery horn, okay, for a short season. That is the book of Daniel that scared Daniel so freaking much that he collapsed, probably peed in his pants, collapsed on his face. The angel had to comfort him and say, Daniel, I know this is scary. I need you to seal up this book to be opened at the end of the world. Daniel did that short book. Okay? So everybody's like, all the scary stuff happened. No, there's a difference in 2/3 of the earth punished and a third part left, and the whole perdition of the whole earth taking place. Two different points, okay? All right? Rome suffered its head wound in 450 when Rome was destroyed, hence the light ages that they call the dark ages of Tartarians, not barbarians, that it lasted exactly from 450 to 1450, exactly 1,000 years. What happened in 1450? The New Age, the Renaissance, which means rebirth, New World of 1492, the resurrection of St. Peter's Basilica, which means St. Peter's basilisk, his snake, where St. Peter speaks the blasphemy, the false prophet out of there, okay? That stuff happened. The new name, the name of blasphemy given to Mystery Babylon the Great, that only exists as the mystery head during the mystery season, during the mystery horn, during the mystery scroll at the end of the world, okay? The most terrifying moment in history that never was since the beginning of time, okay? It ends the way it began, okay? Mystery Babylon the Great is the mystery short horn, the mystery short scroll. Horrible. In which Mystery Babylon is also the 8th, which is Donald Trump of the 88. Okay, the name Jesus that was inserted in your Bible that adds up to 888 in Greek, Roman. Okay, the 8 of Leviathan's chaos and wrath, the eternal judgment of the world. Of the 7, but is the 8th. The name of blasphemy, the number of the beast, the mark, all that stuff you need to know. And it says he's given the same power as the first. What did the first one have power to do? To kill and overcome the saints. That's why you have a batch of them killed pre-MK, and you have a batch of people killed during the MK, after the MK. Why did the MK have to come to an end? Well, 1,000-year reign had to come to an end because of apostasy. When it says they took great pride in the mansions and buildings they built with their hands in those days, for they built them for themselves and not for others. This is why you have those Tartarian buildings with all those apostate statues and things like that happen at the end of the 1,000-year reign. So he has to give power back over to the devil to destroy it all and to bury it in a mud flood. Right there in Revelation, the woman and the dragon and the mud flood that happens after the 1,000-year reign where they bury those Tartarian buildings only happens in the short season. And he stirs off wrath, hence the Rothschilds, the 3 little red bears, the 3 frog-like spirits that come out of the abyss with the beast and the dragon, okay? For the short time, short space, short hour, Mystery Babylon the Great is up in smoke and ash within only an hour, the short season, short space, short hour. Satan went away wroth with the woman, knowing his time was short. So he went to make war with the remnant of the seeds. Hence the why Revelation 20 is the wars of Gog and Magog and the stirring up of all the nations of the earth. Only happens during the short season. If you have a teacher teaching Gog and Magog and Tartary and you're still waiting on a 1,000-year reign, then you have a false teacher blasting you with stuff. You don't get a glorified body during the 1,000-year reign. If you have somebody saying, well, where was my glorified body? Nobody got a glorified body. Death, sin, day, night, work, building things, all of those things still existed during the 1,000-year reign. People died at an older age, meaning death was still in the world. It says the one that dies less than 100 will be considered young, but the sinner that does less than 100, because sin was still in the world. Satan and the beast and the false prophet were bound for 1,000 years, and they come back out of the abyss afterwards. That's why apostasy was still mixed around in the world. Okay, there's a lot of false teachers out there. I can name them right and left right now if I wanted to, but I'm not. You can figure it out on your own. A lot of them just have this thing of, I don't want to go back and correct my teachings. Well, I had to correct a lot of my stuff. I was a pastor of a 501c3 before I woke up. It is what it is. What are you going to wait for? Are you going to let pride blind you so you don't have to correct anything, or are you going to correct yourself? It says the time of ignorance the Most High overlooked, but now he's calling everyone everywhere to repent. What's your excuse? It says in the end, they shall search after my ways and ponder and search out my name. Why? Because they want to leave the name of blasphemy of Mystery Babylon behind. Jesus, 666. Chi, 600. Xi, Xi is 60. And S, which is a stigma, is 6. Jesus. And what is that? Well, it's 888 in Greek gematria. Of the 7, which is 6, 7 was the time of peace, and is also of the 8th, carrying both. And the image of the beast, also created by Rome. When? In the New World. Go worship your cross of Tammuz and your image of the beast, which is the Pope's homosexual his relative as well. And carry that name of blasphemy that only Mystery Babylon the Great carries. It says those are marks. That's why it says you have a mark on your wrist or your forehead, or the name of blasphemy, or the number of his name. And there's also the worship of the beast. 666. What? What do you mean the worship of the beast? What's right there in your Bible too? The 66th day of the year in 321 AD, 3 plus 2 plus 1 is 6, 666, Constantine the Great changed the Sabbath to Sunday for the venerable day of Apollo, where he erected the first steeple, obelisk, of Nimrod / Osiris, who both lost their phallus, their wank, okay? They put together all the pieces but couldn't find his wank, hence the fertility worship. And that's why he's considered a male and a female, because he lost his manhood. That's why Lucifer became Lucy. Okay? So when you walk into a church temple built by the hands of man on a Sunday morning, you're walking under the phallus of Osiris, the phallus of Nero, the phallus of Constantine, the phallus of the Antichrist, the phallus of Osiris, and into the womb of Semiramis, Isis, and the abominable woman, where you become a seed of the Antichrist, where the blind guides lead the blind, the bad shepherds lead the shepherds, the sheep, into apostasy and paganism. A brood of vipers, as he calls those temple gatherers. Come out of it. Here's what it is. The Sabbath is given to you as a mark, a sign for all generations, as a perpetual, which means permanent covenant, so that you may know that he is your God. That's why today is the Sabbath. That's why instead of my own wants and desires and needs, I'm going to fast from my own wants, desires, and needs. And I'm going to focus on getting the lost sheep out of the ditch. I'm going to focus on that widow, that orphan, that child in need. And I'm going to feed them both the bread, the Word of God, and physical bread too, if I have it. Hence why the day of preparation was yesterday, so you gather your blessings to bless others on the Sabbath. Resting, fasting from your own wants, your own desires, your own needs. Nothing to do with temple gathering, but gathering as a body, ecclesia of a body, of a hand and a foot with him in the midst as the head. That's an ecclesia of a body. He sent them out in 2s, not 20s, not 40s, not 80s, not 100s, not 10s. Nope, he sent 70-some people out in 2s, a hand and a foot with him in the midst as the head. That's why it says where 2 or 3 are gathered, there he is in the midst of them, the third. Okay, so here's this. Now it's time to get into some scriptures to back up everything I say, because there's this. Do you know there's a physical representation for everything that is physical as spiritual as well? For example, I'm telling you guys, there are 4 titans, and there's Behemoth and Leviathan, which makes that how much? Okay, 4 titans, Behemoth, and Leviathan. That's 6. 6 different things that rise in these days. 4 titans of old, and Behemoth, and Leviathan, 6 monsters, okay, total. Which is why, on top of the monsters of the deep, you also have the 4 quarters of the earth, even Gog and Magog. 6, all at war with one another. That's why you also have this in order of events. The 4 titans are set loose first, Behemoth and Leviathan rise last. Do I have proof of that? Absolutely. Because for everything on earth, there's also a heavenly representation as well. That's why there's a Christ and an Antichrist. Okay? That's why there's 2 of everything. There's a Lord of the air and Prince and Power of the air, but there's a Lord of heaven and earth. Okay? There's 2 of everything. There's also this. Those 4 titans that are bound underneath the earth to be set loose at judgment. There's also 4 angels of the heavens that bind them. Enoch 10, 4 through 7. And again, don't you know why there's 4 Ninja Turtles? And pay attention to their names. They live underneath the ground. Listen. And again the Lord said to Raphael, bind Azazel hand and foot, and cast him into the darkness, and make an opening in the desert which is in Dudael, and cast him therein, and place upon him the rough and jagged rocks, and cover him with darkness, and let him abide there, and cover his face, that he may not see any light. And on the day of the great judgment he shall be cast into the lake of fire. He's not cast into the lake of fire until the end. And then he said this to Michelangelo, Raphael and Michelangelo. And Michael said to the Lord, Michael also, the Lord said, go and announce to Semyaza and to the others who are with him, who have united themselves with the women and also defiled themselves with them in all their uncleanliness. And with their sons they have slain one another, and they have seen the destruction of their beloved ones. Bind them fast 70 generations only. After the 70 generations, they're set loose for the 80th. In the valleys of the earth till the day of their judgment and consummation, which is at the end of the world. Now, here's this as well. And Enoch 18:13-16 says this, and I saw there 7 stars like great burning mountains. Don't you know, with little faith you can take a mountain, which is considered a titan, a giant, and toss it into the abyss, the ocean? Listen. And I saw 7 stars like great burning mountains. They're huge. And to me, when I inquired regarding them, the angel said, this place is the prison of the angels. There's 4 big mountains. Listen, and here they will be prisoned. And the stars of heaven, which have transgressed the commandment of the Lord, are bound here till 10,000 years. That means until, and then they're set loose. The number of their days of their sins are fulfilled. You know, like the 1,000-year reign is fulfilled and ends. Well, their bondage ends, and they're set back loose. Enoch 21 says this, and he said unto me, this place is the prison of the angels, and here they are imprisoned, and the angels who mingle themselves with women stand here, and their spirits have assumed many different forms, are defiling mankind, and shall lead them astray into sacrificing demons as gods. Here shall they stay until the great judgment. Don't you know the final judgments? When they're released back onto the earth? In which they shall be judged until they are made an end of. Slain. Listen to this. Enoch 54. And I looked and turned to the other part of the earth. Now this is the important part. There are 4 big titans bound in 4 different locations under the earth. They're called gates. They're called winds. That's why it says, when it talks about releasing the angels from the abyss, it says from the 4 winds. What are the winds? They are the whirlwinds. Whirlwinds in your Bible are a portal. Elijah was taken up in a whirlwind. The Most High speaks through a whirlwind. You have the lady descending into a whirlwind with lead. You have Baron Trump's marvelous journey to the center of the earth in a whirlwind, a funnel into the earth, okay? You have Gulliver Travels taken up in a whirlwind. You have Dorothy taken in a whirlwind. The 4 angels that set loose the 4 titans come out of whirlwinds, portals, the 4 winds, the 4 different winds of the earth. The 4 different portals and gates that go into the hollow earth mentioned in Enoch, kept in portals. Okay, so let's keep going here. And I looked and turned to another part of the earth, and I saw there a deep valley with burning fire. And they brought the kings and the mighty and began to cast them into a deep valley. And my eyes saw how they made these instruments, iron chains of immeasurable weight. They're huge. And I asked the angel of peace who went with me, saying, for whom are these chains being prepared? And he said unto me, these are being prepared for the hosts of Azazel, so that they may take them and cast them into the abyss until complete condemnation. And they shall cover their jaws with rough stones, as the Lord of spirits commanded. Now listen to this. And Michael, Gabriel, Raphael, and Phaneel, 4 good angels, guess what they did to the 4 bad angels? And Michael, Gabriel, Raphael, and Phaneel shall take hold of them on that great day of Mystery Babylon, the great destruction, and cast them on that day into the burning furnace. And the Lord of spirits may take vengeance on them for their unrighteousness. You have 4 good angels binding 4 bad angels. That's why Yahushua has 4 golden lampstands. Okay? And Satan has, Yahushua has 7 golden lampstands, and Satan has 7 deadly sins. 2 different of everything, a mirror. That's why Peter was told, hey, what you bound on heaven is bound on earth, but what's loosed on heaven is loosed on the earth. I'm hoping you guys can hear me okay, because it's not showing now how many viewers I have, and all my stuff is frozen up at the bottom. So if one of you guys can let me know if you guys can still hear me or see me okay, I'll continue forward somehow. I notice everything's gone now. And I hope that I'm not wasting all this breath. Can anyone hear me and or see me? Oh, man. This is not good. Can you hear me and or see me? Anyone? I'm not seeing anything. And I have a whole lot left to present. Hey, Amy, if you're watching this inside, can you send me a message letting me know if they can hear me or if you can hear me and or see me, because I have a lot of important stuff to present and I'm hoping that I can get it out. Can anybody hear me or see me? I hate Facebook so much. I'm going to keep going. And if I have to do it again, I will. Okay, here we go. Now the last 2 that arise is Behemoth and Leviathan. Last. That's why it says, in that great and terrible day he shall slay Leviathan, that fleeing serpent, Leviathan, that coiling serpent, and that dragon that is in the sea. Okay? Okay, Amy says you guys can hear me, so I guess I'm just going to have to keep going. All right, listen to this. Enoch 60 says this. And on that day were 2 monsters parted, a female monster named Leviathan, to dwell in the abyss of the ocean over the fountains of the deep. But a male is named Behemoth, who occupied with his breasts a waste wilderness named Dudaim. On the east of the garden, where the elect of the righteous dwell, wherein my grandfather was taken up, the 7th from Adam, the first man whom the Lord of spirits created. And I besought the other angel, and that he should show me the might of those monsters, how they were parted on that one day and cast, one into the abyss of the sea, and the other into the dry land of the wilderness. And he said to me, Thou son of man, herein thou dost seek to know what is hidden from you. Now we have this, Revelation chapter 9:23. This is after the look. And he opened the bottomless pit, and there arose smoke out of the pit. Who did? Well, Revelation 9:11 says Apollo does. You know, Donald John Trump with his 666-foot tower, 664 without the spire. With the spire is 666 feet tall. He removed 10 different stories from his building so that he could purposely place his penthouse suite on the 66th floor, in which, on that 66th floor, has statues of Apollo and paintings of Apollo, who is the son of Zeus, son of thunder. Okay, he's the one that does this. And he opened the bottomless pit, and there arose a smoke out of the pit, and a smoke of a great furnace. And the sun and the air were darkened by reason of the smoke of the pit. And there came out of the smoke locusts upon the earth. Now what's interesting is you have these locusts coming out of a water, an abyss. And when they come out of the ocean, the water, locusts can fly. Locusts can fly. Locusts can fly. And they come out of the water. Now think about everything I presented at the beginning of the video. And unto them was given power, as the scorpions of the earth have. And the 6th angel sounded, and I heard a voice from the 4 horns of the golden altar, which are before God. 4 horns. Who carries the horns? 4 angels. 4 angels are sent to do what? Well, I hope you're putting all this together. Saying to the 6th angel which had the trumpet, loose the 4 angels which are bound in the great river Euphrates. And the 4 angels were loosed, which were prepared for what? Well, Mystery Babylon the Great is destroyed in an hour, in a space, in a terrible day, in a space, season, short horn, short space, mystery scroll, mystery horn, short book, short scroll, short hour. That's what it says. And the 4 angels were loosed, which were prepared for an hour, and a day, and a month, and a year, for to slay the 3rd part of the man. Of the men. Sorry for that misread. And that's why this comes in 2nd Baruch, and why it was removed out of your Bibles. Because everybody's like, oh, that Leviathan was slain a long time ago. No, it was not. Leviathan was created at the beginning for the end. That's why it was placed at the 7th part, which is the ends of the earth, where the Antarctica ice wall is. And it says that he held the waters over her with the breath of God, frozen over, which is the expanse talked about in Job, where he froze over the expanse of the earth with the breath of his wind, okay, from his mouth, okay, in which he held the waters over Leviathan, who rests over the abyss. That's why they have to break it out of ice. At the 7th part, the ends of the earth, which is why it gives the word rest as 7, okay, circles the earth. That's why at the end, it's broken out of the ice, and it causes destruction all over the earth, leaving it desolate. Listen, 2nd Baruch, and it shall come to pass, when all that should come to pass in those parts is accomplished, meaning all that other stuff is done first, that the Anointed One shall begin to be revealed, and the behemoth shall be revealed from his place, and the Leviathan shall ascend out of the sea. Those 2 great monsters, which I created on the 5th day of creation, and have kept until that time. Remember, the time and half a time that the 2 wings of the great eagle have before they go into perdition. The 1,290 days, the 3.5 years, which is why Donald Trump told all you Christians. He said, Christians, get out and vote, Christians. Because Christians, I'm not a Christian. In 4 more years, that's what he said. He said, in 4 more years, you'll never have to vote again, Christians. And have kept until that time, when then they shall be for food for all that are left. 2nd Ezra 6:49-52. Who will be left? Well, everybody's brought back to life at the last trumpet when he slays Leviathan. The last trumpet happens. Everybody's brought back to life. Some are taken off to second death. Then there are some that are left behind that don't have to go through second death, and they are gathered into the barn for that eternal feast. Now, Job 40:15-19. So that's what I can't stand. Is there truthers out there teaching some truth? But boy, are they trying to combine different points in history into one event. So they think that they're like, oh, they're just creating these things for distractions in them these days. No, they're not. The short season stuff don't happen to the short season. The short book don't happen to the short season. The short scroll don't happen to the short season. Mystery Babylon short horn don't happen to the short season. The hour, the space, that great day, that great hour. That's a short season thing. Not the end of an age, and beginning of an age, the end of the world. Some of you guys share this with JT Follows JC, with John Pounders and David Carrico, and with Casey over at his show as well. Share this with them so they understand, okay? I love them to death, but they need to get the whole picture into their heads a little bit. They're combining different points in history into one event, and so let's say now nothing's going to happen. In the end, fire comes down from the heaven. Well, Apollo is handed the power over fire that comes down from the heavens with a bow and a quiver during the mystery short horn. Anyway, that's the last page. That's the last part of Revelation 20. Yeah, they're like, oh, that just means he's going to burn all the bad and wickedness. No, that's not what it says. It says fire comes down from the heavens. That's why Apollo is handed power over fire. Jeez. Let's keep going. Job 41:31-34 says this. And he maketh the deep boil. Who does? Well, the Leviathans. That's why the oceans are boiling right now. He maketh the deep boil like a pot. Maketh the sea like a pot of ointment. He maketh a path to shine after him. One would think the deep to be hoary. Upon earth there is not like this. Who is made without fear? He beholdeth all high things, and he is a king over the children of pride, meaning he will destroy them. That's what he does. He comes after the tares that remain, the kings and rulers that remain, after they get rid of all the light in the world, after they get rid of all of the voice of a bridegroom and the voice of a bridemaid, after he silences everybody with Noahide law. That's why our blood is scooped up and double is poured back onto the kings and all the people that remain behind. Utter chaos. That's why it says judgment starts at the house of God. And if judgment starts at us, how much more for those that remain behind? Everybody's waiting on a pre-trib rapture. It says immediately after the tribulations of those days, then the sun and the moon, they flee. Why? Well, because he comes back down. The sun and the moon flee, the stars fall from their spots, and then he slays Leviathan, and then the last trumpet blows, and all the dead are brought back to life. Some to everlasting contempt, and some to everlasting life. Some are brought off to go to second death, and those that are alive and remain, they're gathered. That's why it's a gathering, a harvest of tares and wheats. And first snatch up the tares, put them in bundles, toss them into the fire, second death, then gather my wheat into the barn. There's no pre-trib rapture. It says in Corinthians, it is appointed unto man to die once. You're saved from second. My faith is not in a temporary 1,000-year reign. My faith is not in no pre-trib rapture. My faith is in nothing more than the death, burial, and resurrection of Yahushua, as the word says. That way, when I die, I too will resurrect and be given an eternal glorified body. That happens at the end of the world. That's why the last thing that happens in that day, that hour, that season, that space, that horn, that book, that scroll, okay? Listen, it says this, in that day, the Lord with his sore and great and strong sword shall punish Leviathan, the piercing serpent, even Leviathan, that crooked serpent, and he shall slay that dragon that is in the sea. Revelation 13:1. And see, people hate this. And I stood upon the sand of the sea and saw a beast rise out of the sea, having 7 heads and 10 horns, and upon his horns were 10 crowns, and upon his head was the name of blasphemy. The beast that comes back out of the abyss carries the name of blasphemy, who's of the 7, but is the 8th, which is 888, which is Jesus in Greek and Roman, which is where the Jesus translation of 88 and Donald Trump of 88 comes in. The name of blasphemy given to the people of Mystery Babylon the Great, because he said he would come in his own name and people would accept him. Who? Esau. It said Esau would come in his own name, people would accept him. Esau's the red one, Edom. Okay? That's why Esau is Jesus. Jesus. Same exact thing. Okay? That's where it comes from. He came in his own literal name that does not carry the name of the Father, and you accepted him. That's why they burned the true text and they handed you the Greek Dead Sea Scrolls that they implanted themselves in only the 1900s. That way you hold up all the Greek and Roman. Let's just keep going here. Here we go to prove to you guys about Donald John Trump, the Sons of Thunder, James and John, James Donald David Vance, and Donald John Trump. Donald meaning rule of the world, greatest in the kingdom, the great, the greatest, the great, great, great. James and John, the Sons of Thunder, who wanted to be the right and left hand wings of Christ. And he says, you don't know what spirit you are of. And he changes their names to Sons of Thunder, Sons of Zeus, which is Apollo and Hermes, the 2 wings of Zeus. They come down from Zeus's mountain, bringing destruction and perdition. 2 wings of a great eagle, and they're the right wings. That's why it says this. The Book of Wisdom of Solomon says this. Then shall the right aiming thunderbolts. You know, Edom is red. Esau is red. That's why the right-wing party is red. That's why MAGA hats are red. That's why it carries the name of great on your foreheads. That's why he also is pushing the name of blasphemy. Everybody's like, there's there's Jesus. Look, there's a reason why Hollywood is giving the name Jesus to blaspheme and do whatever they want, because they can. And yet in the Bible, they were scared to say the true name. They say that Holy One of God is what they said. But in these days, they're given a name that they can say however they want to say. That does nothing. Everybody's like, there's power in it. Nope, the word says your faith has healed you over and over and over again. Everybody's like, well, if they were demons, they couldn't say. No, people use the name Jesus as a curse word when they hurt themselves and things like that as well. Demons on TV use the name Jesus all the time. Hollywood uses it all the time. Judaism also uses the name Jesus, and they deny it. Let's keep going. Listen. And then shall the right-aiming thunderbolts, two of them, Donald John Trump and James Donald Vance, the thunderbolts of Zeus, the lightning bringing down fire from the sky. James and John Donald David Vance, the red ones, okay, that are taking you to Mars. The gods of war, the red planet. It says that the right-aiming thunderbolts go abroad, go in perdition, go astray. And from the clouds, as well as from the drawn bow, remember the bow of Apollo, shall they fly to the mark that is given. And hailstones full of wrath shall be cast out of the stone bow handed to Apollo. And the water of the sea shall rage against them. Wonder why the naval flood maps are about to happen. And the flood shall cruelly drown them. Yep. East, West, and Central America. Yeah, a mighty wind shall stand up against them. It's hurricane season, and it's getting bananas. And the next hurricane to hit the New York City coastline is going to be Gabriel. The one that warns of destruction. The same one that hit in September 11th of 2001. And the wind shall stand up against them. Remember, it's the angel in the whirlwinds, is what the Bible says. And a mighty wind shall stand up against them, like a storm shall blow them away. Thus iniquity shall lay waste to the whole earth, and ill dealing shall overthrow the thrones of the mighty. But thou, O Daniel, shut up the words of this book, the short book, even to the time of the end. Many shall run to and fro, and knowledge shall be increased. That's at the end of the world. That's what's happening right now. So I can't take glory for anything that happens on this channel. Neither should you. This one's really interesting. This is the book of Gleanings, 7:16 through 22. Thus it came to pass that people were ill at ease, for the souls of the departed wandered. Remember, they wander after the beast? Unable to enter rest. They were restless and troubled. They were earthbound. The land was filled with strange apparitions and phantom forms, and the people were stricken with terror. Men's hearts fell on them with fear, with terror, and things that are coming upon the earth. The beast of the field became savage and attacked mankind, and the waters rose up and swallowed the whole land. The land was rent and sundered and swept clean by a mighty tide of waters. The face of the land was covered with waters, and the men were overwhelmed. And the destroyer passed over. Wormwood that passes over the land in the end. Wormwood in the sky, the third sun in the sky. While there's a destroyer in the heavens, there's a destroyer on the earth. While there's an Apollo in the heavens, there's an Apollo on the earth. What's bound in heavens is bound on earth. What's loosed in the heavens is loosed on the earth. There's a Death Star in the sky, and there's a Death Star angel on the earth. The destroyer passed over, and the land was laid bare and desolate. After the destroyer had gone, the people rose up against those who had opposed them and slew them with the blade. There's your Noahide. Starts at Babylon, spreads to the rest of the world. How about this one, manuscript 3? When the blood drops on the earth, the destroyer will appear, and mountains will open up and belch forth fire and ashes, and trees will be destroyed, and all living things will be engulfed. Waters will be swallowed up by the land, and the seas will boil. The heavens will burn brightly in red, and there will be a copper hue over the face of the land, following a huge body of fire. When blood drops upon the earth, men will cry out in despair, and then will the beast of the field and the beast of the earth be destroyed, and mankind will be swept off of the face of the earth. Then shall the great waters pour towards the northlands, and the ice will melt before the sun, and men will cry out, and the earth will tremble, and the seas will roar. In those days, men will fly in the air as birds, hence why we have planes and jets flying now. And they will swim in the seas as fishes, hence the submarines and navies created in these days. They will have knowledge of all things, increase of knowledge, yet they will not be wise. Then will the oceans boil, check, 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 check. And the great beast will rise up from the depths and roar at mankind. The whole earth will tremble, and the mountains will be swallowed up, and the land will fall beneath the seas. Check, 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 checkity, check, check. How about this one? I got this new manuscript for you guys. This would be a very alarming one for you to hear. This is called the Destroyer Doom Shape, Manuscript 5. Destroyer. Men forget the days and seasons. They lost all sense of time. It was a thing of dread, huge and fiery, with trailing tails of flame. It appears as a great red ball, destroyer, hence that red sun up there. Men forget the days and seasons, and they lost all sense of time, in a thing of dread, huge and fiery, with trailing trails of flame, and it appears to be a great red ball of flame, with a mane like a lion, like a sun, hanging low across the sky. The whole face of the land was washed with copper glow, and the air is filled with a fiery dust. There was a great howl in the wind, and the ground splits open from the heat. Flames leapt up, and the coals of fire fell on the earth. Stones and hail poured down, mingled with hot cinders of the doom shape, drew snake-like fingers down to the earth as it wrathed in the sky, and the people were so afraid. The sky itself bowed down to the earth. There was a great shaking and thunder. The seas rose up with great waves sweeping over the land, and the men were carried away in their waters. Remember I told you guys about the other text, talked about people in Babylon drowning by the waters coming up onto the lands. The crops will be destroyed, and the famine and plague follows. The face of the sun was covered, and the moon was veiled, just like the Bible says. The stars were thrown from their courses. The seasons are turned upside down. And great beasts roar against mankind, and the doom shape passed over and vanished into the fastness of the sky, and the terror passed, but the memory will remain. Fun fact, the thing that's been flying over the sky crossed over 4 different points that are called gates in the ocean. Fun fact number 2, in the movie Pacific Rim, kaijus breach in 4 different points with one main location in the Pacific Ocean. Fun fact number 3, Godzilla, well, the Titans, they don't only rise from the land, but they rise from the sea, and some indeed fly. Aquaman, you remember where the final battle takes place there, where they rise from the sea onto the land as well? Same thing. Power Rangers, every movie you can imagine about that stuff, same things. And all these things you'd have to deny, which would be pretty hard to do, especially at this point. I think I went through like 20 different scriptures right then. For those that are wanting notes, there's Enoch 10, 18, 21, 54, 60, Revelation 9, 13, Job 40 through 41, Isaiah 27, Wisdom 5, Daniel 12, 2 Baruch 29, 2 Ezra 6, Colburn Gleanings, Manuscript 3 and 7 and 5. So that's a lot. That's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17 scriptures you'd have to deny right now. No, I can't shut it because it's dark out here. That's all my notes. I'm out. Like I said in a post earlier, you're either fast asleep or you're wide awake. You have eyes to see or you have eyes that are blind. You have ears that hear or they're clogged with feel-good theology. Like I said, I can't see any comments. I don't even know if anybody's watching this other than the fact that my wife said people can see it. Anyway, hope you enjoyed this. If you did, smack one of the buttons down below. I'd love to see 150 some, 160 some, 180 some, 190 some. Doesn't matter how many. People sharing this with people to wake them up instead of being cowards in fear and scared to say stuff. You should be warning people. Ezekiel 33 says that if you don't warn them and you know something, that their blood is on your hands. But if you warn them and they reject these things, their blood is on their own hands. That's why it says you're grafted onto a tree to do the will of the Father, to do the work of the Father. And it says, he who's not producing fruit will be cut off and tossed in bundles into the fire. What are you going to be? Someone producing fruit? Or sitting in sitting your butt in a chair in a pew doing nothing but waiting on a rapture? This is all I do with my life. And soon my voice is done in America in general. Okay, I'm going to go do what I'm supposed to do, as you should too. India, Africa, Mexico, doesn't matter, go. Everybody's like, well, where's there somewhere safe? Don't try and save your life. Don't go to somewhere safe. They don't say go somewhere safe. It says go to all parts of the world. It says go to the most dangerous places. It is what it is. They're the ones that need it the most. If you try to save your life, or you leave here to save your life, you're going to lose it. But if you lay down your life for someone else that's needing it, then you'll find your life. Everybody's quick to say, Lord, Lord, did I not do this, this, and this? And he says evildoers of iniquity. See, it's a difference in saying, I went to church, I went and did this and this, and you actually went out and being a hand and a foot and worked for the kingdom. What type of works are you doing? Your own works for your own self or works for others, serving? I'm not told to serve yourself. Anyway, have a good night and or day wherever you are in the world today. And I'll see you on the next one. Bye from Beyond the Veil.